Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. This channel exists to discuss the nature of reality. It also exists to discuss the nature of my relationship with show business, and in particular, specifically, my relationship with Quentin Tarantino. I am the reason Quentin canceled his film, The Movie Critic, as a result of a series of reviews that I wrote in protest, operating in tandem with a sequence of letters that I wrote him. Not a bunch of letters. It's important for me to make that distinction. Right, it was 10 letters sent over 2 periods. The first was 4 letters. I sent 3, and then they all came back. So I wrote a 4th one. That was over the course of 1 week. And then they all came back, and so I wrote a 4th one, stapled them all together, mailed it to the theater that he owns, 1822 North Vermont Avenue, and said nothing. Until the trades published that he shut down his production and he started playing his psychic mind games with me. Right? And so that compelled me to begin writing again. I wrote the 5th and 6th letters wherein he saw that my hair was short. The Movie Critic is set in the 70s. And he said, oh no. Bullshit, show business, bullshit. And then I kept writing as I yelled at a bunch of actors. I was acting in The Two Gentlemen of Verona, and they read my writing. They read my personal notebook, which was similar to this notebook. And so I screamed at them at the top of my lungs until they threw me out. And I sent that to Quentin as a scene. This is all about my scene, which is, of course, the scene on this channel. And of course, it's gotten a dislike, which is funny. That's like, he has people watching this channel. It's a badass scene. It's a fucking badass scene. And it doesn't, I did it in a studio the first time. BK Actors self-tape in Brooklyn, at the Brooklyn Navy Yard. So, I read it, I continued to write him all the way through the end of January, when the trades announced that Brad Pitt was reuniting with him and he stopped accepting my mail. And so it took me about a week of processing. Took a lot. I was depressed, for sure. I thought, and I still think this, that he's just a Hollywood jackass. So, I wrote a 7,000-word essay about how Cliff Booth beat up his wife and got away with it because Brad Pitt beat up his wife and got away with it. Cliff Booth killed his wife and got away with it because Brad Pitt beat up his wife and got away with it. Right, 2016, FBI met him at the tarmac, right? This is real. It's a real thing. Everyone in the industry knows it. All of the things that are being said to Cliff Booth are the things that were being said to Brad Pitt when he was coming on to his first set after that entire debacle. Cliff Booth's walking around and saying, God, you hear that guy killed his wife? Did you hear that guy killed his wife? They were saying the same thing about Brad. It's like, gosh, you hear Brad beat up Angelina? And she filed for divorce immediately. You think she didn't sign an NDA and get paid? What you think this is? So, after I published the essay, I published 3 films as a review in protest. An American in Paris with Gene Kelly, Mr. Skeffington with Claude Rains, and Gone with the Wind with Vivian Leigh. Right? And after I posted that 4,500-word review of Gone with the Wind directly to his Twitter, he canceled the film the following day. I'm the reason he canceled the film. And so from there, right, he entered into a campaign to create a psychic connection with me. And didn't want to say anything to me, didn't want to say anything practically to me. Just wanted to play fucked up mind games. Which led to where we are now. He set me up to be a movie star at a screening of Jackie Brown. He wanted me to question him about his book, Cinema Speculation. At De Niro Con. I was in the front row. Right? He didn't want to take either of my letters. He wanted to turn it into a fucked up mind game, and that's where it's my fault. It's not all Quentin's fault. He said enough. Everything that he said was in relation to me. I acknowledge that. That classical actors are okay, and regional theater actors are okay. He was accepting me. But when he stuck his nose up at my letter, and turned his back on my letter, that's all I saw. I didn't see the 6 months that he violated my mind with his psychic mind prowess. And so I did the same thing and turned around and left. I took his direction. And it was petty. It was small of me. Yes, like all the things. And so after about 5 weeks, he and the people around him entered into a campaign to make me seem insane by alleging that he had a daughter. His daughter's a little girl, and we'll talk about that maybe later, who loved me and wanted my baby, and that he was my father-in-law, and he was going to like buy us a house, and it's all bullshit, but it's all the same psychic tactics. And so that proliferated for months on end, with me on the street in LA, on the street in New York, until he compelled me to come back here. I'm in Alabama now. This is where I grew up. And I finally said, okay. On New Year's Eve, I printed out her picture and started remote viewing her. Her name's Allison Tarantino. I suspect he doesn't know who she is. A. Tarantino, first letter in the alphabet. But when I started remote viewing her the first time, they plagued my mind with a bunch of bullshit. And within like 2 or 3 days, she ended up being a prostitute and a nasty bitch who fucks 20 guys a day and makes pornos with her father's private jet. And it's all a joke to him. It's all like, oh, ha, 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 ha. And then like 2 or 3 days later, he admitted he has no daughter. And so I've been trying to come clean ever since, which more or less brings us to where we are now, right? The highest evil that has transpired has all occurred since April. And so now we are, whatever month it is, the end of September. Anyone who's been keeping up with this channel knows that I've had a great reticence, a great fear, a great concern about the fact that Quentin's getting a Lifetime Achievement Award, which he did on Sunday. And so, let's talk about it. I don't know what occurred in those 3 hours, but the one thing that all of the trades seem to be discussing is how he was worried that he thought his girlfriend was breaking up with him after death proof. And so, right, what I'm saying is that anyone can say anything about like any of his films, right? But that retrospective was from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. And at 11:30 p.m., Deadlines, something Alessandro, right? That guy published his article with death proof. Boom, right there on the front of it. Am I supposed to believe that this guy watched a 3-hour review and then like in 30 minutes had his title, he fed them the title. He told them what he wanted them to talk about. This is his town. Tinseltown is Quentin's town. Brian's mind is not Quentin's mind, but Tinseltown is Quentin's town. Right? Everything that I've seen, Q Tarantino News, they've all talked about Death Proof. It's a 3-hour retrospective with Scott.feinberg. They went through all of his films. I'm supposed to believe that it's just like, that it's just like happenstance, that like all of the trades that like write on these things all happen to write about the same thing, which was his one box office flop, which is right a clever allusion to the fact that I'm worried that he's going to kill me, death proof. Right? Is that the first time he's done that? Sure isn't. These are the games that he plays. Right? I don't care what anyone says. Right? I don't care. Right? But my point is that he's obviously feeding them what he wants them to title their pieces. You don't write a fucking review for a 3-hour retrospective and have the fucking title and have it ready to be published 30 fucking minutes after the shit ends. That's like, right? Is it about me? Is it not about me? That's irrelevant. My point is that he's feeding them what he wants them to say. And this is my point when I say that, God damn it. This is my point when I say that no one discussed Cliff Booth being a blatant clear corollary to Brad Pitt beating up his wife on an airplane. Right? That everyone in that town is in his pocket. And they all say, oh, well, like, here's my shoes. Like, here, let me just take off my shoes. Thanks, Quentin. And perhaps they all know, right? And in that way, I was naive. But that's not a justification. Just because you have the capacity within you to be a powerful psychic clairvoyant who can torture anyone, that in no way justifies your facility to behave in such a way. In fact, I would say that the opposite is true. And the higher that your facility is, the greater your responsibility is to not invoke those powers. Because in so doing, you wield an awesome and mighty immaculate power. Right? So, Quentin has done his 3-hour retrospective. And he wanted everyone to talk about Death Proof. He wanted everyone to talk about the one that flopped. And that's, right? And again, right, it's misdirection. He says, oh no, I want you to talk about this one. Let's talk about this one. Right? You look left, he goes right. Death Proof. Because he knows that I'm calling everyone around him. And I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I'm done, right? Like, we're done. We're done not talking about it. I'm about to email Christopher Nolan's agent. Who do you think represents him? Take a wild guess. I'm about to make sure that everyone knows who he is. Everyone knows what he does. Oh gosh, I have no idea what he's talking about. Like, oh, how can his imagination be so broad? So we're going to pivot now. And we're going to talk about AI for a second. If you recall in the last video that I made, I discussed that fucking actress, Tilly Norwood. Actress. Now I've seen the real danger. I can remember seeing however long ago that casting agents were getting these emails from people about how, oh, you can use this, right? You can use this AI to like maximize your time, right? And so this is like a similar thing. I read this earlier today. And it's funny on one level if it's fucked up. There's a guy. I'm not a racist, but who graduated from an HBCU. Anyone who's from the South, I'm from the Bible Belt, we know about these things. They're called high black college university, something like that. It's like 97% of the students are black, 98% of the students are black. And that's great. That's like whatever. So there's apparently a guy who has graduated, he's black, from an HBCU, and has designed this AI for athletes. And so I've written down a lot of the shit that I read in this article, and I'm going to read it right now. Being an individual of color who is faced with oppression, being a first-generation college student, and being raised in a single-mother household, it is a common experience to feel overlooked. I'm not laughing at anyone. Like, I was raised by a single mother. Like, I don't mean anything by this, but what I'm saying is that, like, this guy knows his audience, doesn't he? Right? An individual of color, first generation college student, and raised in a single mother household. This guy's just checking all the boxes. Like, what do all the brown athletes do? That's what most of them are. Right? So, features. Tycoon AI will function as an all-in-one platform when onboarding. Athletes can select their school, gender, hometown, an array of interests, including fitness and training, traveling and culture, business and entrepreneurship, technology and gadgets, and so much more. AI. It's written by AI, for sure. From there, athletes can connect with the local businesses through its interactive merchant map. According to information shared with Afrotech, that's the name of the company, Afrotech. Once a selection is made, Tycoon's AI team will send the request directly. Merchandise. Furthermore, athletes can develop merchandise to enhance the experiences with their fan bases. This can be accomplished within minutes thanks to AI design assistance. Athletes can select from hoodies, hats, and tees and sell their creations directly within the app. Game Plan AI. Use the platform to grow the influence of the student athlete to the public at large. This award has been funded in part by Pharrell Williams, Pharrell's Black Ambition. Tycoon AI is now available to download on the App Store and Google Play Store. So that's my pitch. You can. What's the point that I'm driving at here? That's maybe the question that you're asking yourself, and that's a good question. I'm not racist. I'm not laughing at the plight of, like misrepresented black athletes. Like I know that, like in their mind, the psychology of an athlete is like, oh, this is my ticket out of the hood. Like I get that. I live in the ghetto right now. You ain't telling me nothing. I get it. I would embrace you and call you brother. Right? But what I'm saying is that much like these casting directors, right, who had the option to diminish the work that they put out by saddling up to AI, which reduces what they're looking for to a couple of narrow potentials, this is doing the same thing in its way. That student athletes, rather than having to actually like design something of their own merit, right? They have all of these different like thousands of stock options and they like put them all together. And Afrotech itself reaches out to the companies and the stores that will sell the merchandise for the student athlete, which allows them to make money while they're in college. And we know that this is the hot topic, right, with student athletes. That while they can't get paid to play the sport, even though the university makes millions of dollars, that they can have deals with merchandising companies, that they can have jerseys, that they can make all that money, that the jersey company can put their number and they can pay the athlete. Right? So this is all like it's alleged that it's for the athlete, just like the AI for the casting is alleged to be to the benefit of the casting director. So now we have to be an accordion, right? I talk about this in my novel, right? The cosmic accordion. It's really tight, right? And it's really wide. So if we say, okay, we have like these things, it's very narrow, right? Okay, pull it out. Right? In the future, right, you guys keeping up? This is so easy. I can't believe like I have to like explain this in simple terms, right? That studios spend money on performances. That's like what they do. That they say, oh gosh, and now we're all in this ethical dilemma. Because characters like Tilly Norwood are but one example of a myriad of other ones to come. That these Swedish, right, these European like AI cats, they're going to start cranking out these actors. There's 1,000 more in production right now. Male, female, right? Heterogeneous, right? pansexual, all these things, right? That they're cranking them out right now to where they check all the boxes for a studio. And then they show the studio and they say, oh, it's just a demonstration. They say, oh no, you don't have to, like, it's not a real person. Like, you pay a person to do what you do. Like, you guys make movies, and like movies require like persons. But this thing, it looks like like Tilly Norwood, she's fucking fine. Right? Like, she could do the action of like an actor, right? Just like Afrotech does the work of an athletic manager. You understand? Just like Afrotech does the same thing that those casting AI abominations utilize. You keeping up? Right? So in terms of the industry, right? The industry does not accept, right? Because it's political suicide. Right? Accepting, hiring an actor, an actress that is generated by AI, it's an AI creation, because that is saying, oh, we don't care about human creative artists, right? But there's gonna be some renegade director who comes out and says, no, who cares? I've written this thing. I don't like it's my thing. I wrote it. I can do whatever the fuck with the thing that I wrote. AI didn't write this motherfucker. Or he's a 15-year-old AI prompt junkie and said, no, the only appropriate people to do these roles are AI-generated characters. That's the logical progression. And so when someone drops that, it'll be like a short comedy, right? They won't go like weighty drama. It'll be something like shorter. It'll be like 10 minutes, 12 minutes. And it'll have mixed reviews. But it will engender enough interest to where that writer, that AI prompt junkie, has enough funding to make another one. And then he'll do it for like half an hour or 40 minutes. And he'll carve out a career doing that. Where he says, oh no, I don't care about money. This has never been about money. And after he's done that and ends up winning like a real Oscar for whatever category, if it's best cinematography, right? He's only got to win one. Then the industry has accepted AI-generated performances as intellectually valid for not only the box office, but also for award season as well. That is what's going to occur. It's a logical progression. And this is Quentin Tarantino's nightmare. This is never what he wanted, and it's not what I want either. But we have to accept that there's an algorithm at play here, that there's some sort of fluctuation where it's going up and then it's going to come down, right? Cinema speculation discusses the bravery of 70s cinema, and I agree with him. When he talks about the emotional authenticity of the woman in the Steve McQueen's movie. Not Bullet, but the other one. I can't remember. It's like the 4th or 5th chapter, but French critics praised her authenticity, and I agree with her. He's like smacking her up, and you can feel it. You feel it in her. Right? That the reflex out of AI, out of like no authenticity, that it's a pure plagiaristic reflex of programming. That's gonna dominate the culture for a time. Everyone's gonna say, oh, cool. And then inevitably the comeback out of that will be the proliferation of 70s cinema, of brave cinema, of people who come together and say, no, we're gonna tell a human story. And I think that'll be a beautiful moment. Quentin predicted it himself in his way, though he never could have predicted the proliferation of the AI, that technology, that all of these companies would hold such an iron grip over society as a whole. I suppose that I'll stop. I don't really know what to keep saying. Quentin perhaps is laughing his ass off at the thought of me appearing insane on some level. I don't think that I actually appear insane. But what I'll say to hopefully dispel that rumor is that these are the models that we're making, right? Here's the cube octahedron, right? There's a square, right? It's a diamond, right? And then there's a triangle. And so the next one that we're making is the rhombicosidodecahedron. And it's going to be about the same size, about this big. And it will be exceedingly graceful. This is a perfect sphere. If you see, it goes together perfectly. What I'll say is that I have a therapist. I have someone who comes here once a week, and I talk to him. And I've gotten to where I did this week, and I'm going to keep doing it. I tell him the same thing that I tell everyone on this channel, that there is a clear path to prove me insane. And that's by reaching out to William Morris Endeavor and figuring out one way or the other if I am the reason Quentin canceled the movie Critic. I definitively am. I am the reason. But if the people around me, I was just yelling at my family. I have a lot of guilt about that. But they don't do anything to prove me insane. All they do, all these people, and my therapist is one of them. All of these people, they say, oh, well, Quentin's a famous guy, so therefore Brian can't be telling the truth because he's just a normal guy. Quentin's not a normal guy, and Brian's a normal guy, so the things that he says must be some delusion. And so what I'm saying is that if I had a son, if I had a child who said, I'm going through this thing right now, I'd be on the first plane to Los Angeles, and I would be in that office every day. And I would say, what is the truth? It's time for whomever works here to pull their heads out of their asses and tell me what the actual fucking truth is. Are any of them prepared to actually do that? I don't really know. But we've covered a lot of ground. I think that the real takeaway from this video is that obviously Quentin has Hollywood in his pocket. They went too far in publishing that article 30 minutes after the end of his retrospective. That tells anyone who's paying attention, oh, that's a plant. That's like, oh, that's an article that has nothing to do with journalistic integrity and everything to do with Quentin feeding them what the fuck to say. So, see what's good in your life. Know that life is not an accident. All life emerges out of a noble divinity. Pray for me. Pray for Quentin. Right? To be clear, because I have this book right next to me, right? Quentin espouses all of these things that he does to me in his novel, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Right? That Charles Manson talks to Pussycat the same way Quentin and I talk to each other. Isn't that funny? He put himself in Charles Manson, the nastiest, evil, ugly guy who is the successor to Jack the Ripper. So, pray for me, pray for Quentin. Uplift your soul to God. Know that life is not an accident. Make sure to hit the notification button, like, comment, subscribe, share, and let me know what you think. God bless.